episode 3 of the Please Hustle Responsibly podcast. I'm Matt Kohl, and I'm here today with Kristina Magro and Kristina Veltri, as well as our good friend Jason Vaughan from Nancy's Hustle and Tiny Champions down in Houston, Texas. And today we're going to talk to him about building out a more ethical work environment for your employees. But before we hop into that, I just wanted to check in with Kristina and Kristina about how they're doing and what's going on around here. Kristina?
Which one?
Max.
Let's see. Last time we talked, we were headed into a shutdown. So my bar is officially hibernating for the winter, which is fine because that is the safest solution for my staff because we don't have any ventilation whatsoever, no windows open, and we only have a door. So focusing on the majority of support staff stuff, which is always great, gives me more time to do something that I feel very passionate about. And yeah, I think I'm doing good. I went to Michael's the other day and perused around for some hobbies so I don't go crazy. So I got some yarn and I'm going to learn how to knit my dog some sweaters. And I got some clay and I think I'm going to make some people pots for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything's good. Things are fine. How about you, Veltri?
Things are good. We are still operating until future notice. So yeah, to-go sales have gotten really busy, but the weather's really starting to turn, so that outdoor dining is not exactly a pleasant experience. But we're just going to ride it out until either the city shuts us down or we realize that it's not really feasible anymore. And I actually started looking for some new hobbies as well, but that entailed going to my mom's, who is like borderline hoarder, and collecting some things from her house, and I'm going to start selling them on Etsy. So right now my house is full of like weird clown figurines and a bunch of like Pyrex dishes that Clint was like, these are crap. And then I looked them up and they're actually worth a little bit of money.
Well, shut it, Clint.
Yeah. I think he doesn't want me to keep all of it, which is fair.
Jason, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good, you know. I mean, relative to everything, just trying to get this new restaurant open. We just need power, and the city's not really helping us with that, but it's okay. We'll get it soon. That's given us some time to get Nancy's up and running. Yeah, that's been good. We're trying to build a patio outside there so we can get to a place where we're not losing money every day, but we're hopeful to get that done soon, but we're not super worried about it right now. We got a lot of other stuff on our plate. We pretty much have all of our employees working again, so as soon as we open Tiny Champions. So we're not really worried about expanding our dining at Nancy's. It would be nice to have some outdoor space. So, but outside of work stuff, good. The weather's nice down here right now.
I was gonna say, what's it like? What's the temperature like?
I think it's like 65 out there and sunny. Not to rub it in or anything, but you know, it was hot as hell when it was nice there. So you know, we just the flip of you guys up there. So we're getting the good stuff right now.
That's great. I love your Verity Mart shirt too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wore that for you.
I appreciate it.
I wear it so much. I've only had it for like 2 years and it's already just like I'm wearing it out. But
yeah, it's a great shirt. I have one too. I love it. Cool. Well, we just wanted to ask you a couple questions. You know, you've been around in this industry for a long time. You've worked your way up from washing dishes. You've been in a couple different places doing this, opening a handful of restaurants, and you know, now with Nancy's in Houston, you've been doing pretty well for yourself. So we just want to talk to you about your feelings on a more ethical work environment for your employees and the kind of things that you value in building out your restaurants and what you think is important for the structure and safety and of your employees and how you do that. So I just want to ask, like, what was your experience as a hospitality employee prior to opening your own business? And did you have a mentor?
Yeah, so like I think I kind of searched for a mentor on the mentor part of that a lot, but it's hard for me to say that I had a specific mentor. Just I really feel like a lot of people have big impacts in little ways. Like I've had old cooks that I worked with for like 6 months who have said things to me that really changed the trajectory of my path, you know, just opening doors. So I wish I had a mentor, but every time I started to kind of look up to someone or really follow someone, they always seem to like fail me. Um, so I don't know. I felt like I kind of went at it alone or with my peers around me in a lot of ways,
Sure.
kind of like learning from the people who are right next to me, not necessarily someone who has like a shitload more experience than me. As far as like my experience before opening my own place was, I mean, it's pretty typical, I would think. Just kind of worked through it. Start like you said, starting in dish and then kind of working my way up. And obviously, I had the privilege of being able to basically get kind of whatever job I wanted. Being a white male, all I had to do was kind of show up and be there, you know, every day. And I could just move through the ranks. If I put my head down, I could just like move through the restaurant eventually. Um, Definitely typical environments that I worked in, just kind of male dominated, machismo, like workaholic stuff, you know, like you just have to like put in the 14, 16-hour days, don't complain, and you know, and you'll move through. Yeah, so I mean, I guess like I worked for a couple of people who seemed to have like somewhat of a progressive mentality, but it would always come back to dollars in the end and profit. And you know, they would talk up front about what we should be doing or what we were going to do to take care of everybody and make like a better environment. But then they wouldn't really like put up the money for that. So yeah, is that kind of what you're looking for in my experience in the industry? Like, I mean, it was just very typical. You know, I moved around. Like, I worked in a little restaurant here in Houston. I moved to San Francisco. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I got a job at A16, and then I worked at Michael Mina's. And again, like at that point, like I think I didn't even own knives as a cook. I like tried to take a knife from my roommate's home stash. And one of my buddies was like, "You can't show up to work with that. What are you doing?" But I still got into what became like a 2 Michelin star restaurant, you know, just for like showing up basically, which is kind of crazy.
Cool. I mean, like, so you've seen a lot then, and you've been through a lot of places, and like you're saying, interacting with a bunch of different peers and learning from them, but also seeing kind of like, I feel like a lot of people have seen restaurant ownership and leaders talking about these ideals that they want to execute. Like you were saying, when it comes time to actually put up and do these things, they kind of back down because the cost of it is too much, or putting the effort into it is too much.
Yeah, for sure.
So are these some of the things that you had in mind when you were opening Nancy's and getting ready to open Tiny Champions?
Yeah, a big thing that led to me wanting to do my own business would really just be like when I my main job in Chicago was working with Hog Salt, kind of started before it was even a restaurant group, and then opened multiple places there. But I really loved the first restaurant, the team that I had at the first restaurant. And then I got excited about a new one and got that open and built what I felt was like a fucking awesome team. And then my job became just fixing problems as they kept opening more and more restaurants. I just had to chase problems around, and I kind of lost touch with a crew. I got to the point where I had like 50 or 60 cooks or something between different stores. I think even more than that. And I couldn't connect with people that way. It wasn't fun anymore. To me, it became kind of like punching the clock. I was being forced to be creative. It was like I felt like I was getting whipped to come up with new dishes and be creative. And then, yeah, I didn't get to enjoy that personal side with people. So opening Nancy's, I really just wanted to like have my crew back, and see what we could like build together, and be around people that I love to work with every day. And so owning my own place was, yeah, like thinking about that ability to squash bullshit, to not tolerate things that I didn't like, or work with people that I didn't enjoy being around. I could just like we could just get rid of any kind of bullshit. So that's kind of what pushed me to open my own thing, is I didn't want to have to answer to somebody else. But I think as you learn, you still have to answer to people, and like, but then really what has happened at Nancy's, and I think this is what makes it great, is that I just answered to the employees a lot, like I defer to them. I'm not trying to like skirt the responsibility, but I hate I don't necessarily want to be the only one making decisions, because if everyone else isn't happy with the decision that I made, then I'm going to be working around a bunch of unhappy people. And that's like, again, that's like not what I want to do. That's part of the reason I wanted to leave that environment of running 6-7 restaurants where there was always people pissed off that weren't getting attention or weren't being heard or whatever. So, yeah, so that's kind of what pushed me to do Nancy's. It wasn't really about, oh, I want to cook this particular type of food, or, I want everyone to see my take on this cuisine. It was more building a sustainable job for myself and the people, the crew that I didn't have at the time, but I knew that we would build. I knew there were people out there who would want to work with me and appreciate having like a good job. A hard thing for working for other people too is the uncertainty in what happens next. Really, like, I have no idea. Are they going to re-sign the lease when it comes up, or like it's hard to plan your future. I wouldn't say that that's changed a ton owning my own place. Like I mean, obviously COVID threw a giant wrench in any plans that we had there, but so uncertainty is always there, but I do feel better about my path, being able to control it a bit more.
So when you left Chicago and you went back to Houston and you were like, okay, like now is the time, I'm going to do this. What were some of the like focal points for your structure at like Nancy's Hustle? Like what were some really important things to you? Like how you would lead a team, but also like how you go about doing that? Like what are some of your like ethos when it comes to opening up your own restaurant?
Definitely, I'd never ask anyone to do anything I won't do. And we don't just say that, like I just do the things a lot of times, right? So like, you can't just say, oh, I'll do anything if I have to. You actually have to like get on your hands and knees and crawl under the walk-in shelf and scrub behind that pole, and that's just one example. But I know it's like front of the house, you guys have to deal with like the restrooms was get like super gnarly. I know you guys know that from Chicago. and it's that kind of stuff, like not being hands off. Like I know that, like, if I put in the work, if I'm there with them, sweating with them, pushing with them, grinding through service with them, that they're going to be happy to do it, because it's hot and it's hard. I mean, we all know how like brutal it is.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, especially in busy restaurants, small restaurants like Nancy's is. And you just have to show up and do that kind of, that that's like on the physical side, obviously. I mean, some other things that were important to just make it work is having a like-minded business partner. That I think is something that people don't really always think about, is like having someone um, that's willing to work with you and see things your way. I think a lot of people get into partnerships not for the right reasons, so I think really having a great business partner when you go into a new business, someone that sees things the way you see them. Because if they're not willing to invest in the people, or to offer health insurance, or, I mean, it's a lot of money to do those things that you could easily just not do and save, so having someone that sees the world like you do is also very helpful. What else? I don't know. I mean, like, again, I think like going straight into Nancy's was just like, I'm just gonna put my head down and I'm just gonna do it, and people will follow and we'll like build something together. I definitely lucked out again on like the people that I was able to surround myself with, and then just listen to them. Like, my new business partner was a pastry chef at Nancy's, Julia. We asked her to be a part of the new restaurant because she made herself so valuable at Nancy's. Like, she would sit in the manager meetings, and she's the one who made sure we got health insurance within, like, I think 60 days of us opening. We weren't sure if we were able to afford it. We legally don't have to provide it here in Houston, but like, it was very important for her to get it done. And I didn't have the time to do it. I'm terrible at that stuff. I don't even know, still don't even really know how my health insurance works, So like, I just said, yeah, if you can do it, like, if you'll put the work into getting it done, like, I'm all for it, and she did it. So like, yeah, within 60 days, everybody had health insurance. Now we're opening a new spot. They're going to have it day one because of her work, really, so I guess like surrounding myself with the right people, and I think some of that was luck. I just met her through a friend, and then my other partner Sean, I've known him for years. So people are the crucial part.
Don't you also think that like it's less luck and it's more like probably your willingness to put in the work allows them to really like shine and want to do the work as well? Because that's something that I've noticed is like, I've always worked with people that are also like that mentality of like, I'm just going to do it. And then other people want to follow suit and like, will never say no to you because like you're right there with them. But when you have somebody that's like, yeah, I could do that, but like, I'm the boss, like you don't want to do shit for them. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I do think that is probably has a lot to do with it. Yeah, is making sure everyone's putting in the effort for it. So,
well, something that you said, Jason, when I got the pleasure of coming down there and eating at Nancy's, is we were talking about the process of you opening up Nancy's, and your pastry chef came up then, and you were talking about how she took the initiative to get health insurance. But then you said something that really stuck with me, and this is going to be weird because I'm going to like quote you, and that's weird. But you said that like, this is the whole point. Like the point of like me doing this is so like I eventually can create an infrastructure. So like the point is not to have my employees remain stagnant. The point for me is to like build an empire and watch these people grow. So you were like, after Nancy's, we're going to open up another place because this woman is so talented, like she needs a space to shine. And for me, I feel like that was so inspiring, but also so refreshing to hear from a business owner, because I feel like more times than not that the reverse situation happens and you do make yourself so valuable to a person or a company that they make it challenging to leave because you are such an asset.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
or even grow. Like,
yeah, it's way easier to just hold you in the position you're in. It takes work to train someone else, to find someone else. It's scary. But ultimately, I think people just got to understand that, like, it'll either way, they're going to leave, right? So, like, if they're, you can hold them down for a little while, but you can only offer someone so much money in a certain position. Either way, they're going to leave you. So you might as well, if you like working with them, it's more about how do you keep working with them, is what I felt. And also, like, I don't know, I'm 35. I've been doing this for a little over 20 years. I don't want to do this like I've been doing it for another 20 years, really. Like, I want it to morph into something else. Like, I love cooking, but do I want to work 16-hour days still, like grinding it out in the kitchen? Not really. I'd rather go into Julia's restaurant and have a great meal and not do anything, or I don't know. I just like, it's like there's a lot of joy in watching other people like do what they want to do, and then also being able to like enjoy the fruits of their labor and be able to relax a little bit. Like, the idea of being like the focal point of a quote unquote restaurant empire sounds miserable to me. Like, I don't want to be in charge of businesses that are somewhat difficult businesses to run in the first place, So, but I am, I do love restaurants and they're interesting. So I do want to get a little bit out of different things, like I don't want to do the same thing every day for years. So, um, yeah. So anyways, that's what I think is like, it makes so much sense to like let people move up through the restaurant. And man, I guess it's funny that you bring it up right now, because I actually have this situation right now with Tiny Champions. I have a cook down at Nancy's that really wants to do pasta. We're doing a lot of pasta at Tiny Champions, but she was the best fit for an AM sous chef, and I really need her down the street at Nancy's um, to help run that place while I open the new restaurant. So I do feel like I'm kind of holding her there, but we did give her a promotion and she's learning new stuff and we're going to move her through the restaurant. And I definitely have plans on offering her this position, but I think that that's a good spot for her. But it is interesting that you bring that up, because I'm struggling with this mentally right now. Is like, she just really wants to make pasta. And I have this position that I hired someone else for, and I feel like a shithead about it. But they wouldn't have been able to do that job, and I didn't have anyone else that I thought was capable of stepping into the sous chef role down there. So,
well,
still
maybe then maybe she just does the sous chef position now, like learns how to the logistics and more of like the behind the scenes management thing, and then eventually she can go off and make her pastas at another venue.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I think that, I mean, and I guess there is just like, I try to have an open conversation about it. And I say, look, like, this is where I'm at. This is what's beneficial to me. I understand that it might not be what you want. So just tell me, I just try to have an open conversation about it, and not, I don't try to twist it or lie to her or be like, oh, this is going to be the best position for you, like for your career path. It's like, no, I think this is not necessarily what you want to move into over that other job. Or you might see me hire this other person for a job you think you're perfect for, but this is why I'm doing that. And it's more of a conversation than, me just telling her what's up.
Do you think that you have some things that when you were getting ready to open Nancy's that you thought needed to be a big part of what you guys were doing that you've gone away from now? Do you think that there's some things where you're just like, this doesn't work in what you're trying to do?
Um, I mean, related to I guess related to the food a little bit, but um, I don't know. I mean, I think it was like a slow morph more than like this doesn't work. We got to change. We definitely just added a lot more people, because
Mm,
it was busy and we got the cooks to 4 days a week because that's like what I felt was like a better life for them to work, like have 3 days off a week and just work a couple more hours each day. And they all like agreed to that. We didn't start with that because that requires like a lot more cooks on your payroll in general, just to fill all those shifts. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking of anything that I was just like, because we went into it thinking that we would do like 60 covers on like a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. And within like 3 weeks, we were doing no less than 150 covers on any night. And then within like a couple of months, we were doing no less than 220. And then our busiest night would be like 265. And that was like the most we could do. So we were almost maxed out every single night. Like we can do about 265, 270 covers out of the space. It's 80 seats, 2,500 square feet. So, so yeah, we were just like hanging on in the beginning. you
yeah.
know, we had one manager. Now we have like three or four in the front of the house, like between like bartender, assistant manager. So really the main thing is like that we had to drastically change was that we can't just kill ourselves. I was like not having great experience with my business partner because he was running the front of the house. I was running the kitchen. I was there 16 hours a day, no bullshit, 7 days a week because we were closed one day. So, and he was doing about the same. So we kind of like started to hate each other, and we just hired more people so we could have more time to chill out. Um, and I guess one of the recent things that I've thought that I've had to change, and this was really actually just coming to fruition right before COVID, is I realized that I had to remove myself from any high stress positions in the restaurant, right? Because I would still expedite a couple nights a week or float a couple nights a week, and I tried to stay in it. And then I was like, man, this is like incredibly unfair to say my new little baby food runner who has to not only deal with the chef who is a lot of stress running expo. That person is also the owner of the restaurant. So they're like, I was like, man, I can, even if I'm not like being aggressive or anything, it's just kind of like a monster to deal with, I would imagine, right? So I'm trying to like move myself to a position of low stress in the actual restaurant during service so that I can be more just support. I can be the person that's like helping you when you need help, not the person you have to go like ask for another salad because you forgot to ring it SOS or whatever, like, well, whatever it is. I don't know if that makes sense. I think like
Sure.
having that dual role was I felt unfair to the team.
Well, I think that's a valuable thing to recognize because I think so many people see people getting caught up in like the chef artist kind of thing, the struggling artists, and they're prone to these anger outbursts because this is their representation, and they look at the restaurant as a representation of just them and not the team that's involved in it. And I think it's great that you can take that step back and be like, this is about the team. This is about everyone who's involved in this.
Yeah, I don't like the spotlight, so that's kind of easy for me. I'm like, just, I'd rather my name not really be on it, but, they got to talk about somebody. So,
Well, like talking with your restaurant getting busier as you opened, it seems like you've had a big impact on the community down there in Houston. Are you pretty actively involved down there?
Oh man, we should be way more. I am actually not, to be totally honest. In some ways. So like I again am not super social until I get to really know people. So like I don't do events. I don't go to like promotions. I'm not gonna do the truffle dinner or like I just like don't care about that stuff. My focus is on my like our restaurant, our team, getting them the things they need first is like what's so much more important to me than going and rubbing elbows with other people. I know there's a lot of good work being done, and that's where I know I can be a lot better. There's in the beginning, it was really like the work we have to do is at our space, not elsewhere, but then, yeah, over time, as we got comfortable, we started doing more pop-ups, fundraisers. If anybody has a cause that they want to support, we're definitely down to like do a pop-up. We donate a lot of the money, or we usually try to donate all the money because we're pretty thrifty when it comes to making food. Lots of breads. So yeah, we definitely need to be doing more. And again, Julia's really great at kind of pushing us to do that stuff. And then we also have some other employees that are just like, well, have really good ideas about how we can get involved. But again, it's not really, we're not super intertwined with the culinary or the other restaurant community here. We are kind of an island on our own, For one, the neighborhood that we're in is kind of a bit away from everybody else. And two, I'm just not that interested. I don't know what to say, if that makes sense. I'm excited about what we're doing and the things that we care about and our team. I mean, there's enough people here to like support and work with and do things with. So that being said, we need to do more for things outside of the restaurant kind of like group and just for other people, other causes. So we need to do work there again.
I mean, I think you're right though. Like you do have a large group of people that you support through your restaurants. I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing that you're spending your time focusing inward. And you have a huge staff to take care of and support and nurture and grow.
Yeah, we definitely try to fill needs when people come to us or whatever. I'm not like super outgoing. I don't really do much outside of the kitchen. That's obviously changing a little bit these days, but yeah, I'm good at what I'm good at, So,
But I admire that mentality because I feel like more times than not, we're told that like you have to play the game, like you have to do these things, you have to be social, and like, get in the right room to make things happen for you, like in the long run. And I think that's also something that I've always admired from you because we got to work together briefly. Is I was like, this guy doesn't give a fuck about any of this stuff. He just like, and I feel like Jason's being extremely humble. Like he's made some of the staples of Chicago. I won't say what staples, but they're still being, people are still lining up to get these staples every day. So you're a really talented guy that makes really good food. And I'm happy that that's translating in Houston, especially with your team, because I feel like more often than not, people in our industry get wrapped up in the superficial stuff and really forget about what's important. So it feels like your priorities are in line, and I wish that other business owners would follow suit.
Yeah,
and
and
Mags.
I I do think that it's like a bit unfair a lot of times to like, no, I don't want to say just chefs, it's bartenders, it's anyone who's asked to do all these things. It's like, that's not, I mean, that's not what I signed up for. I'm uncomfortable. It's not good for me. I don't feel good. I don't want to do that shit. So being forced to do it doesn't seem right. And the same thing goes for like our team. Like I'm not going to force them to do events and do things. They have to be like passionate about it and want to do it and lead it. Yeah, because again, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like uncomfortable doing that stuff. So now I'm definitely at the point where I'm like, no, I'm just not going to do it. If I don't feel like doing, if I want to hide in my, kitchen or like not talk to anybody today, like that's totally fine. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Matt,
Mags, we had kind
I'm gonna go rogue on a question. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, do whatever you want.
Jason, what are some of the like mental health challenges that you've encountered, whether that be like with yourself or maybe some members of your staff that you've had to deal with either as a leader or by yourself while opening a restaurant?
Yeah, that's I mean, they're every day and ongoing, and we're actually trying to talk about it more and more as a management team to kind of normalize it in our restaurant and talk about it in our pre-shifts like all the time, just to normalize it. We Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me with like with COVID, obviously it was pretty awful. We were watching it kind of like come in across the country, and obviously Houston wasn't really reacting, or a lot of cities in the South weren't really reacting as Chicago and New York. And anyways, yeah, just that was super tough. I mean, I think I cried for the first time in like 5 years, which is also a problem when that shit hit, because I realized all of my friends across the country, everywhere was totally screwed. Like everybody I knew was totally screwed. Anyways, yeah, sorry. There's definitely still burnout with cooks. I mean, and employees. Like Nancy's is very busy, right? So like it can be very mentally taxing and stressful for people walking into that environment. We try to give them plenty of time to work into it, plenty of support. We do massive training for them, especially for the front of the house. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's the same as every other restaurant. You just, sorry, I'm trying to think of like specific mental health challenges without talking about specific people. I mean, I guess I'm constantly stressed as like an owner. I wasn't sure if we're going to make it. I'm still not sure if we're going to make it through all of this, but I think we'll be okay. I mean, I guess I'm really bad about dealing with it myself still right now. I just have tons of anxiety, and I bought a motorcycle and I just ride that now to try to cope with it. I couldn't sleep for a while, etc. And I don't know. I think our whole team is just like experiencing that. Like when COVID first hit too, it was like sorry, this is what I was trying to say earlier. We watched all you guys starting to shut down, and there was no mandate to shut in Houston. We decided to close before any kind of government city mandate in Houston. We were looking at New York and Chicago. And then I was looking at my team, like freak the fuck out in pre-shifts. Like they didn't know what was happening. They, they were terrified. They were like breaking down, almost starting to cry. So I said, okay, we're not opening. Like tonight will be our last night. Like our last service was a Sunday. in March. And then like 2 days later, they mandated that all restaurants close. So that, I mean, that's been an ongoing challenge through this whole thing. You know, we closed for about a month and then we started doing to go. And I mean, people just have a lot of anxiety about everything right now. So the things that we do, we just try to check in on people all the time on a personal level. We've started to put together a kind of a resource page for people for like local things that they can do. I mean, just even like um, outdoor yoga classes and like different like physical activities that they can go do. And we're also trying to get managers to sign up for stuff like that, or just people to lead it and say like, hey, I'm going to go on a bike ride here, and just try to get a couple people to go get outside, be physical, do things outside of work. Because I feel like everyone's just like watching the news and then going to work, and watching the news and going to work, and like waiting for this to be over and working through it. Yeah, and I mean, we're just really open with time off too. It's just like we've started to talk about that more. It's like if you just need a day, just take a day. Like we like kind of as a policy don't really ask questions about if a cook is like, I need to uh, I need to take the day off or whatever. Like I'm not gonna dig into them. It's just like cool, we'll figure it out over here. Sorry, I really lost it on that one.
No, it's good.
The bogey
No,
question
man.
got me.
No, it's all good. I mean, it's you
I
know,
mean,
it's not something that we normally talk about all the time, or it is more so now. But I feel like even a couple of years ago, normalizing and talking about mental health in hospitality was something that we never talked about, because there's that whole mentality of we're strong, we're tough, we do this, that old chef mentality, like
Yeah,
you're saying, of working
yeah,
16-hour days and not complaining. But then what's your home life like? What do you do after
exactly.
work? Are you just going to the
And
bar
that's
and drinking all night and then waking up and doing it again and angry because you're hungover and tired and mentally strung so thin that you snap at every single thing?
yeah, and that's like something that I've come to realize as an owner, even more so, I think, that like way more than I did before, was like just what's going on in everyone's life outside of work, you know? Like um I definitely have cooks who live with their parents and take care of their sisters, you know, like take care of their family. So not only are they working 12-hour shifts, 10 to 12-hour shifts, you know, they have to go home and like take care of their sister, and then wake up at 6 in the morning and take her to school. And it's like they have zero time for themselves. And so trying to be better, definitely trying to be better about like recognizing that stuff and understanding um, people have other shit going on in their life,
Yeah.
you know, like so they forgot to ring it no nuts or whatever. You know, like so what, they fucked up a pasta. It's like get the fuck over it. There's so much more happening in the world than that, you know. That's not to say I don't, you know, I'm just a fucking peach on the past every day, but I am, I feel like from my time in Chicago to what we're doing here is drastically different. My approach to the staff for those reasons, you know.
Also,
And sorry,
oh,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say that the last couple of months have really like made me start to think about it for myself even more, you know, because it's kind of easy to look at other people and say, okay, maybe they're struggling. What can I do to help them? And then recently I'm like, oh, well, yeah, what the hell are you doing? You know,
Yeah.
what's going on for you too, right? I don't know the answer to that yet.
Well, I don't think anyone does, but we're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So from what you've said, it seems like you have a pretty good relationship with your team and like you're close with them. What I've come across the last few years, like especially, you know, working with support staff and just trying to be more vocal about like normalizing mental health and like communicating with staff and with management and like knowing more about the people that you spend every day with. There's like the old world mentality of hospitality where it's like people are like, well, how do you ask those questions without like, I don't know, like crossing the line of HR and like being invasive? And I totally understand that concern. So like, what advice would you have to those people that are like really trying to like play it by the book and like make sure that they're not getting a lawsuit on their hands for trying to ask somebody if they're okay?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think we come across that a lot because we're trying to talk about these things, and we're not professionals with that stuff, right? So we're always worried we're going to say the wrong thing or, um, do the wrong thing. I don't know. I think you just got to do it. Don't be a jerk about it. And, I mean, it's really just seeing if they need anything like at all and let them open up to you if they want to. If you notice that they need, like, you can see it in people's work, right? Like if you're paying attention, you can see it in them. You can see it in how they're interacting. They're different than they normally are. I mean, just go ahead and give them a day off. Like, if you feel like it's not okay to approach them specifically about it, then just schedule someone to take their, just like make sure they're okay losing the shift. And then first, and then just be like, hey, you've been working your butt off. I want to get you an extra day off. I got, X person to cover your shift next week if you're down. Um, I think things like that, and then generally, if they want to talk about it, if you make the time to pull them aside and just kind of check in with them, see how they're doing, like if they want to talk about it, they're going to open up to you. And then, that's an open door, I think, to kind of go from there. But that is definitely a struggle. Learning to not say, you seem pissed off, what's going on? Like that's like not the right way to approach it. I think more looking at it from like, not pointing out that you're noticing anything really, just be there, just be supportive without even saying anything about it, if that makes sense. I think just like be available, be around. Don't ask, hey, do you want me to close for you? Just close for them. Like, just do it, so.
And I think all those little things are really important for managing the burnout of your crew and managing and keeping them happy and healthy. Like it's something that, you and I have gone through in back of house in a different way than the Kristinas have gone through in front of house stuff. It's a different game. It's, there's a lot of emotion and mentality up in front, and there's a lot of physicality in the back, and they're both hard and difficult. And I don't think for a long time there was any kind of focus on how do we keep people from completely burning out on this. And so it's good that there's starting to be a change towards that.
Yeah, I mean, a burnout cook is worthless, like I'd rather have you 3 days a week or 2 days a week and like a good spirits and having fun and, than to have you 5 days a week and you be miserable. It's so short-sighted. And I feel like the whole industry has always been so short-sighted, and basically like people are disposable. You just like go from one to the next. It's fine, they'll quit, someone else will come along. But I think like big companies would tell you that that's the dumbest way to approach it, right? Like
Sure.
longevity in employees is generally more financially stable for you. You spend a lot less money on training and waste and whatnot. And I mean, we have like, I don't know, 5 cooks still from like opening day at Nancy's. Most of the ones that opened the place. And then we've had a couple come through and leave. But the longevity of our staff there has been pretty amazing. And from my experience, it's incredibly valuable.
But doesn't that make you feel better and happier that you're growing and learning with these people? And like, you spend all this time there. It's nice to have these people that you spend more time with in your family, that become your family.
Yeah, it definitely puts the pressure on to give them opportunities, to make sure they have growth opportunities and that they're still learning and stuff, which is good. So that puts pressure on me to make sure we're changing up the menu, doing new techniques, and continue to push the restaurant forward. But yeah, it's been really nice. I feel fortunate to have people like that sticking around.
Well, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit or a lot of bit, but to go back to kind of what's happening and has been happening for the past 8 months, and we've talked about it a couple times, but obviously you've changed a lot of how you operate, have had to change a lot of how you operate down at Nancy's with COVID happening. Are there any things that you've learned from how you've changed your operational style that you think you would want to carry forward with you?
I definitely don't want to do to go ever again. I'm so tired of it, but it's okay if that's what works. That's what works. No, I think just pushing forward with more personal time for everybody, right? Like before we were offering, managers got 4 weeks of paid vacation a year, and but we would only let them take like 10 days at a time.
So minimal.
Right.
14 days. 14
Are you
days at a
hiring?
What happened to the 6 months?
I would like to extend that to like the whole team, right? Like, just more time for ourselves, less hours at work, higher pay. I'm not saying I can do that, like we definitely have work to do on increasing people's pay rate and just benefits all around. But yeah, I think just, yeah, definitely having more time. Like I've had more personal like time to hang out with my partner, which has been fucking awesome. That would be great. I don't want to go back to not being able to do that. Like I don't want to go back to those. I'm going to have to when we open this new restaurant for a little bit, but the goal will be within like a month or two to get back to having, an 8 to 10 hour day. Sounds pretty awesome. 2 days off a week was just not something that I did before, and having 2 full days off in a row was pretty special. So yeah, that's something that I'd like to carry over. Other than that, I mean, I feel like we were really down a path of like talking about mental health, talking about inclusion, trying to act on those things. This might like kind of jumpstart us a little bit more as well. I think we talk about each other and how we're feeling. We check in on each other even more than we did before. So I'd like to keep that up. Yeah, so I don't know. This time sucks, so there's not a whole lot that I want to keep from it. But
I want to admit that was my question, because
yeah,
I agree that this time sucks, but I also think that there are some cool things, like the idea of tables not being 2 inches apart. Like for me, I'm like, whoa, that's so nice that like we're not just like starting eating people in. And I know that it's like not necessarily the most financially viable option for all businesses, but like, dude, when you have to like get on a table and like you're basically knocking over the table next to you, that's like shitty.
yeah, and that makes sense. And like I guess like I don't see it the same way as everyone else. So yeah, that's like super interesting to hear. I've always thought that crammed restaurants were cool, and fun and like a good vibe to be in, but I've never been a server. So
I mean it is still cool because, that's more people to help me pay my bills, but I think that like
but is it
from the guest perspective,
Yeah, and is it physically safe? Right, like moving in a space like that. Yeah, so I can totally see that for sure.
Or like something that I'm positively taking away from COVID that like maybe my employer might not think it's positive, but the customer is not always right, and the customer does not get to be a bully. So especially like throughout this COVID times, like I am the least guest minded I've ever been. And I'm the type of person who will go like above and beyond for that experience, but not at the expense of my staff and their well-being. So especially like throughout COVID, I've noticed that I don't know if it's because people have been like inside and they're just like pent up and they feel like they can be an asshole to anyone, but like my tolerance is minimal. And like I feel like now more so than ever, um, it is about my staff and how they feel and how they're being treated. And like a customer is a dime a dozen, we can get another guest, but I can't like, so it's my job as the manager to control this environment more so than ever and make sure that my staff is happy. And I care more so about my staff and less about the consumer. And I feel like that has been a huge, not saying that I didn't care about my staff, because I've always cared about my staff greatly, but I've never been so direct with the clientele of just like, you can leave right now.
Yeah, I
Also,
support that 100%. I mean, and I feel like we were kind of always like that with, the second someone started, like if we were to cuss it, like at any point our servers felt uncomfortable, they knew that they could just come to us and like we would just tell the person to leave, like we didn't. Yeah, and that would be nice to see more places. Like if there was any hint of harassment of any kind, it was just an immediate like we'll deal with it.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
there's
I
also
don't.
the fact that like people kind of want to be kept in line. Like guests like want that idea that they're always right, but then like as soon as you are like no, they like turn into a child and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And like I'm not saying everything has to be sarcastic service, but there's a reason why that like blunt sarcastic service was so popular for a long time, because like people want to be told how it is.
Yeah.
And like I think that more people are going to react and change rather than like leave and be like, don't ever go to this place, like it's terrible. They told me
Yeah.
I was being a dick because I was being a dick.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, I don't really get it. I think managers are just like scared to get in trouble from their bosses, the owners of the restaurant, and this mentality that the guest is always right, and oh, that server's overreacting, whatever, the guest is like in a bad mood, it's fine. And obviously, I'm like, if someone's like a little rude, cool, let's try to win them over. That's what we're here for. Maybe they had a shitty day, they just need to get a cocktail in their hand, need a snack, right? But if they're just a fucking dick, then like give it right back to them, or we're just gonna ask them to leave. Like, yeah, it's not even worth it. Again, like just like I want to be around working around people that I like. I want to be around guests, and I don't have to align with you on everything, but just be a nice fucking person. I don't want to be around a bunch of assholes. So yeah, it's pretty easy to just be like, yeah, we're not going to tolerate that. I think like it's funny because I feel like it was easier before when we were packed every night with like a line to get in. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we're definitely not tolerating that. You get, but I guess it's the same. And then on your guys' side, I'm sure, yeah, I hear you, Kristina, that it's like probably easier to be blunter about it. Like, I'm not going to put up with this shit. Which I think is totally fair. We definitely experienced that when we were doing to go a lot, and part of the reason we wanted to stay closed longer is because I didn't want to be in a fight with my guests about masks, about whatever, just about what we were doing. And I felt like opening, because I don't even remember if Texas ever shut restaurants completely. I know we closed for like a month, and then I think we were at like 50% capacity here. But we didn't. We just did to go for like 3 or 4 months or something like that. Because I didn't want it to be a fight, and then we just reopened about a month ago, and it's been pretty good. We've had a couple people try to wear like a mesh face mask or something, and we just stop them right at the door, and it's no like, hey, this is our policy, but it's like, no, put a mask on or that's it. Like it's not, I don't have time for you, fucking child. I think that kind of attitude has been a bit easier to give to the guests. But we're lucky. Most of our guests have been, really awesome, for the most part.
So this question is kind of broad, and we've kind of talked about a lot of things that relate to it. But in a perfect world, what does the future of hospitality look like to you?
Oh, would it be socialist? I don't know. Employee owned, basically,
Mhm.
or like
For sure.
like total profit sharing kind of situation. For like the big one. I don't know. The future of hospitality. Definitely, I want the large restaurant groups to die and never come back. This idea that
Yes.
a couple, mainly white men, know everything there is to know about all kinds of cuisines, produces a lot of crappy restaurants, a lot of unhappy employees, um, and it produces higher rent for everybody else. The idea of me opening a restaurant in Chicago was really difficult to wrap my head around. Like, how do I compete with, Rich Melman and the Boca Group and Brendan Sotokoff, and like they just like gobble up all the property, and
Mhm.
they had been. And what's unfortunate is they're going to do it again. The last boom that I feel like we saw, obviously, is like right after I moved to Chicago right after the recession, and that's when those groups all started kind of like forming. A couple years after that, they opened a restaurant, gastropub, and it was fucking busy. And then they just kept going and going and going and eating up all the property. So that's something I'd love to see die. I don't know how we kill that, but more independent restaurants that don't turn into giant restaurant groups. What else? Yeah, I mean, just more time off, like all the stuff we've been talking about.
Mhm.
Just like more personal time, more like treating your employees like humans. I don't, we personally just totally boycott places that don't do that. If we know they treat their people like shit, or there was an instance where they did and they didn't take care of something, that they should have, like, we just don't go there. We don't support them. And that's also kind of part of why I'm not super involved with other restaurants, because a lot of people have a lot of shit in their closet, so I'd rather not hang out with them. Yeah, what else? Yeah, I don't know. I just want smaller independent restaurants run by just awesome fucking people making a life for themselves, and figuring out how to make it work. It's weird to say, but like I feel like it's possible. Like it's a lot more possible than people make it seem, right?
Mhm.
Like you listen to all these big celebrity chefs and restaurateurs, and all they do is bitch and moan and cry about how fucking hard it is to make $1 in a restaurant. As they continue to open more and more fucking restaurants. Like if it was so
And
hard, then why would you keep doing it? And it's just like,
and underpaying their staff and overcharging for food, and
yeah, and then it's just like, woe is me. It's so fucking hard. The profit margin's so slim, et cetera, et cetera. That's like all you hear from them all the time when they ask, when they get asked about opening a restaurant or what it's like or whatever. I feel like it's all that's bullshit. I'm not trying to downplay like the difficulties of it, and especially for someone that is not privileged like myself, that it's harder to get a bank loan or it's harder to get investors, or even just get a rent deal somewhere. You know, I'm not trying to downplay like how hard and how much work has to be put into that, but I also think that like I just think it is possible to make a better restaurant, you know, make it function better, provide insurance, do the things. Like I think all the things I was told about how we can't afford that, we can't do that, is a lot of it's fucking bullshit. And
Mm-hmm.
you guys know it from like the people you see, and they're fine to buy a $2,000 vintage Campari sign to hang in their bar, but they can't afford a better staff meal or whatever it is.
Yeah, or staff meal at all,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
any of the things that are like the bare necessities of applying for a different kind of job are struggles.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so I don't know, those kinds of things. And I'm not saying that we're obviously like we have a long ways to go ourselves, right? Like there's a lot of things I would like to continue to progress at Nancy's and hopefully Tiny Champions. So.
Do you want to tell us really quickly about Tiny Champions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's gonna be mainly a pizza spot, and you've heard it a million times: pizza, pasta, salad, breadsticks. It's we got this really cool spot that's just a couple blocks from Nancy's. So I wanted something that would, if we were going to do another thing, like I didn't want to drive across town for it, like I wanted to be able to walk from one to the other. I wanted the two restaurants to be able to have staff meal together. And Nancy's was so small and got like so maxed out really quickly. This place has a lot of room to grow. It's got a big yard outside and stuff. So we're really excited about that. So yeah, pizza. We're gonna eventually do our own charcuterie and stuff, mainly so that we can get whole animals, so I can sell the expensive cuts to Nancy's down the street, and then we can make charcuterie and sausages and stuff for here. Um, and then yeah, the extruded pasta and a bunch of vegetable dishes. We're not really doing any. What I think is like different about our approach to it is we're not doing like typical entrees. Like there'll be no chicken dish, there'll be no pork, no big steak, none of that. It's just pizza, pasta, and then a lot of vegetables to go with that. So yeah, and then we're kind of trying to focus a bit on fermentation in really small but impactful ways, right? Like just to add flavors, right? So if we're gonna do like a cabbage salad, we're gonna put sauerkraut in it more than likely. Our pizza sauce, we're fermenting 50% of it, and then mixing it, and like you can't really taste it. I think as far as like you're not gonna pick it out and be like, oh, this is fermented. Like it just adds this kind of like background flavor. So we've been doing a lot of that stuff at Nancy's for a while, and we're really trying to apply it to like something really approachable here, So not necessarily going to talk about it a lot, just kind of like to add like flavors and give us some fun stuff to do in the back. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. We got a big yard. We got a little building next door. I want to open a cocktail bar in it someday. That's kind of going to be hopefully my side project. I'd like to learn how to bartend a little bit more, so I can run like one shift a night over there. I'd like to do like one food item and like 3 cocktails. One of those will probably be like a beer and a shot combo, and then maybe a highball. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I think what else about this place? Let's say we're gonna have an awesome staff. We have an amazing team, and I will say that like it's been pretty unbelievable, the response to us, like to the new restaurant and who's involved in it, and like when people would come to interviews, they're just like, we've just heard that you guys are amazing to work for. Like, and then we just kept hearing that over and over again. Oh, my friend works at Nancy's and says you guys are just the best to work for. Over and over again. So it pays off too. Like it, you know, we have zero problem staffing this restaurant. Maybe COVID has something to do with that and people being out of work. But the response was the same over and over again. You know, we just, we hear you guys are great to work for. We love Nancy's, really just want to work somewhere that I don't get treated like shit, which is sad that it was like, that was like the over and over, you know, response. So that's Tiny Champions. Hopefully a place where you don't get treated like shit. Unless you're in a dickhead guest. Yeah.
So I'll be asking my partner tonight if he'd like to move down to Houston. Just throwing that out there.
I'm ready. I got a tiny building for a cocktail bar.
I'll teach you how to bartend. You teach me how to cook.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. When can I come stage, Jason?
As soon as you send me a negative COVID result.
Great.
And you show up anytime. Hopefully we'll be open in like 2 to 3 weeks, but we have some power, just not enough power. So,
you guys have any other questions?
Do you have any questions for us?
Man, that probably would have been a good thing to think about before. No, not really. I mean, I really like what you guys are doing. I mean, I guess, how would you suggest that I use your resources for my team?
Ooh.
Like, just give them the website, or like, what do I do?
So COVID, fortunately for us, has moved all of our resources to a more digital platform. So it's less Chicago focused and more nationally focused. So we do have, like, on our website, there's a map that's just very Chicago specific, but on our resource page is all of the national resources that's available to anyone in the United States. And then we're also starting like our educational platform, not only for like ownership and management, but also for hourly employees. And that drops at the beginning of December. And every week we'll have like a nice educational video of like everything related to mental health. We kind of start easy, like what is mental health? How do we address it? How do we talk about it? Things like that. So those resources are all available. I feel like we need to do a better job at like getting those out into the world. But if you ever have like anything that's more like specific or dialed in and like employee related, we're always here to help. And we have a pretty large network now of mental health professionals, not only in Chicago, but around the United States that are virtual. They're helping out virtually as well. So whether that be like somebody doesn't even know how to start to get therapy, they'll help and introduce you to a place. They'll give you the steps. If it's substance abuse and addiction, we have an online partner that's available in all states, and they're 24/7. So luckily, like, our resources are available to you guys in Houston. And if there's something that you're looking for that we don't provide, just let us know and we'll find it.
Cool. Yeah, we just want to give them as many options as possible. So yeah, that would be awesome.
We're also like in the beginning of January, if you wanted to include this, like for your staff, we're doing a bunch of digital fitness things and nutrition and things like that, because it's like new year, new you. And you know, so all of those things. So it's not just like mental health and physicians, it's also like other things that can help alleviate stress. And sometimes therapy doesn't work for everyone. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, I don't think I have other questions. I wish I could come hang out in Chicago.
I mean, it'd be the same as this. It'd be a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in Chicago right now. The air
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy right now. They're saying like 1 in 50 people have COVID.
Is that for real? I saw that yesterday. It's like, holy
So
fuck.
if you have like a Thanksgiving gathering of 10 people, the odds of you getting COVID are 58%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
It is. So maybe we'll come to Houston instead. We can be outside.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're not far behind, but yeah. What's the, I guess, if we got 5 minutes, can I ask what you guys were doing? What was the kind of protocol for testing and stuff for employees working in dine-in restaurants? Was anybody working? Was that just you at Monteverde working in a dine-in restaurant?
Yeah. So yes.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I think I was the only one that was working at a dine-in restaurant, and we didn't require testing, like if anybody was feeling sick, we would of course like tell them to not come in. And then anybody that did get tested positive would take the proper quarantine.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anybody I know in Chicago saying that their job required testing for work.
Yeah. Cool. All right, we're just doing to figure this out. We're fortunate enough to have the free testing around the corner, so everyone gets tested every 7 days. So that's like
the one thing that the one thing that Monteverde did do that was really helpful is they do provide. Originally, they were providing KN95 masks for staff, which significantly decreases the amount of transmission. After we had one case that was with a front of house employee, so then we had to like quarantine basically our entire front of house staff because of how they work together. We switched to using N95 masks because it's like even lower. There's like a 99%. I don't know.
Yeah.
So everybody is required to wear N95 masks, but the one thing that like I really want to encourage for anybody working in a restaurant is to just like invest in, at the very least, a KN95 mask, because you can get a pack of like 20 for not very much, and it's so much better than just like wearing a bandana or a homemade mask. And just especially like front of house, well, I mean actually both, because back of house like works on top of each other, but front of house is like faced with the general public. So
that's a good that's a good point. We have not, I mean, we try to keep everybody apart, but again, Nancy's is pretty small, so it's nearly impossible to keep people away from each other. But yeah, that's a good point. I'm definitely going to bring that up, that maybe we should have people switch to the N95s if they're available.
The N95s are really uncomfortable. Like that's the one thing. It's like, especially if it's like the summer was brutal. It was very hard. But here I have, these are the KN95s, and they're like they're not that far behind the N95s. It's just, these are, I think, from like China. So the CDC doesn't see them as like as effective, and they are slightly thinner, but like they're very comfortable. You look like a duck when you wear them. And like I said, I bought this pack of them for like, I don't know, maybe like 20 or 25 bucks. And
they're about $1 a mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like
that's worth it.
so much more protection than just like a cloth mask.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's easy enough for me to kind of pose it to everybody and see what they think. So, yeah.
Cool. Anybody else have any other questions?
No,
Mags, do we want to talk about Giving Tuesday?
Oh, so yeah, to everybody, thank you, Matt. Woo! So, hello. For everybody listening, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast. Something exciting that we have coming up is our Giving Tuesday campaign. So that is in the beginning of December. If you want to follow us on Please Hustle Responsibly on Instagram, we're doing like a telethon style fundraising thing. So it's going to be hours of a bunch of interviews of industry professionals, some community organizers. We have live comedy show. We have like 4 comedians coming on. So feel free to check that all out and hit up our Instagram. That is in the beginning of December. So keep your eyes peeled because Giving Tuesday. And then we also have our educational platform that is launching December 1st as well. So lots of exciting things. And if you have any questions for us, please always do not hesitate to reach out. Our email address is info@pleasehustleresponsibly.org.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel special. Great talking. It was great talking to you guys. I hope I don't know. I hope something's useful from it, and I'd love to do it again in the future if there's anything else to talk about. I'm sure there is.
We would love to have you back. And happy to hear that everything's going great with you down in Houston. And we're excited to see what happens with the new place.
Thanks. Sorry, I kind of lost connection for a second, obviously.
All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.